In the bustling city of Seattle, Anastasia Steele, an innocent and shy college student, stumbles into the world of Christian Grey, a handsome, enigmatic billionaire with a troubled past and a taste for control. What begins as a simple interview for a school newspaper unravels into a complex, intense, and passionate relationship that explores the boundaries of love, desire, and power. The deeper Anastasia dives into Christian's world, the more she discovers about herself, love, and the shadows that linger behind Grey's flawless exterior. The interview. Anastasia Steele wasn't supposed to be at Grey House, standing in front of the imposing office of Christian Grey. It was Kate's job, her best friend and roommate, to interview the famous billionaire for their college paper. But Kate had fallen ill, and now Anastasia found herself stepping into the shoes of a journalist, completely unprepared for the encounter that was about to change her life. Christian Grey was nothing like she had imagined. His striking features, intense gray eyes, and commanding presence left her speechless. As the interview progressed, Anastasia fumbled over her questions, caught off guard by his cold but magnetic demeanor. She felt out of place in her worn-out clothes, in stark contrast to the sleek surroundings of his office. Despite the awkwardness, there was an undeniable connection between them. Christian was intrigued by Anastasia's innocence and lack of awareness of her own beauty. He found her refreshing in a world full of people who only wanted something from him. Little did Anastasia know, Christian had a dark side, a world of desires that extended beyond her comprehension. The meeting. After the interview, Anastasia couldn't get Christian out of her mind. His presence lingered with her like a shadow she couldn't shake off. Though she had tried to convince herself that it was just a one-time encounter, fate seemed to have other plans. Their paths crossed again when Christian visited the hardware store where Anastasia worked part-time. The encounter was brief, but the tension between them was palpable. Christian made an excuse to see her again, offering to take her out for coffee. This simple gesture was the beginning of something deeper, a dance between desire and control that neither of them was fully prepared for. Christian was a man used to getting what he wanted, and Anastasia soon found herself falling for him, despite the warning signs she tried to ignore. She was drawn to his power and his vulnerability, though Christian remained guarded, never fully revealing his true self. The proposal. As their relationship deepened, Christian began to open up to Anastasia, but not in the way she had expected. He revealed his unconventional desires that revolved around dominance, submission, and control. Anastasia, overwhelmed and unsure, had to make a choice, to accept Christian's terms or walk away. Christian presented her with a contract, detailing the rules of their relationship. It was a proposal unlike any other, strict guidelines on how she should behave, what she could and could not do, and a detailed account of their sexual relationship. It was overwhelming, and Anastasia struggled with the idea of giving up her autonomy. But there was something intoxicating about Christian. Despite his darkness, she was inexplicably drawn to him. His wealth, his beauty, and his power were alluring, but it was his brokenness that captivated her. She saw glimpses of the pain he kept hidden, and she wanted to help him heal. Against her better judgment, she found herself agreeing to his terms, stepping into a world that was far beyond anything she had ever imagined. The submission. Christian's world was one of strict boundaries and control. Anastasia soon discovered that her submission was not just physical, but emotional as well. Christian was possessive, protective, and demanding, but he also showed her a kind of passion she had never experienced before. He introduced her to new pleasures, pushing her limits and testing her willingness to surrender. Yet, despite the intense physical connection they shared, Anastasia couldn't help but feel that something was missing. Christian remained emotionally distant, unwilling to let her in completely. He was a man tormented by his past, and no matter how hard Anastasia tried, she couldn't break through the walls he had built around his heart. She loved him, but the question was whether love was enough to change a man so deeply entrenched in his ways. The conflict. As their relationship intensified, so did the challenges. Anastasia struggled with the power dynamic between them. She craved more than just physical intimacy. She wanted emotional connection, honesty, and vulnerability from Christian. But Christian was a man of control, and giving up that control was something he couldn't easily do. The cracks in their relationship began to show. Anastasia wanted more, but Christian was unwilling or unable to give it. The power struggle between them became a source of tension, and Anastasia began to wonder if she could truly be happy with a man who kept so much of himself hidden. Their love was undeniable, but so were their differences. Christian was haunted by demons from his past, demons he refused to face. He was afraid of losing control, and in doing so, he kept Anastasia at arm's length. For Anastasia, it was a painful realization that the man she loved might never be able to give her the emotional intimacy she craved. The break. Anastasia reached her breaking point when Christian's control became too much to bear. She couldn't continue living in a world where she had to constantly submit, where she felt like she was losing herself. She loved Christian, but she couldn't sacrifice her own identity and happiness for him. She made the painful decision to walk away. It broke her heart, but she knew that staying in the relationship would only lead to more pain. Christian, though devastated, let her go, knowing that he couldn't give her what she truly needed. For Anastasia, the break was a chance to rediscover herself, to find out who she was outside of Christian's world. She missed him, but she also knew that she couldn't be with him unless he was willing to change. The resolution. Time passed, and both Anastasia and Christian were forced to confront their own inner demons. Christian began to see a therapist, finally addressing the trauma from his past that had shaped his need for control. He realized that if he wanted to be with Anastasia, he had to be willing to change. Meanwhile, Anastasia focused on her own growth. She pursued her career and surrounded herself with friends and family who supported her. She loved Christian, but she knew that she couldn't go back to him unless he was willing to meet her halfway. After months of separation, Christian reached out to Anastasia, ready to make amends. He admitted that he had been wrong, that he had let his fear and pain control him for too long. He wanted to try again, but this time, he was willing to do it on her terms. Their reunion wasn't easy, but it was a start. Christian still struggled with his need for control, but he was learning to let go, to be vulnerable, and to love without conditions. Anastasia, too, had grown stronger, more confident in who she was and what she wanted. Together, they found a balance, learning that love was about compromise, trust, and mutual respect. Their relationship was far from perfect, but they were willing to fight for it, knowing that the road ahead would be challenging but worth it. Epilogue. A new beginning. Anastasia and Christian's story was one of passion, pain, and growth. They had both come a long way from the people they were when they first met. Their love had been tested, broken, and rebuilt, and in the process, they had learned what it truly meant to love someone, flaws and all. As they stood together, hand in hand, they knew that their journey was far from over. But for the first time, they were facing it as equals, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead.